everyone. Thank you, Jeff. It's 7 o'clock, so we're going to call this meeting to order. The Avery County Fire Commission's regular meeting, June 11th, 2020, 7 o'clock. Shane, you want to say the prayer?
Lord, we just thank you for this time, Lord, we can come together, Lord, to do the business of the Fire Commission, Lord. And we just pray, Lord, that you would guide us, Lord, as we make the decisions to better serve our communities in this county, Lord. We just pray for each fireman, Lord, and their safety as they go out day to day, Lord, and for everything that's going on, Lord, for the COVID days, Lord. We just pray for their protection, Lord, and their healing if they need it, Lord, for everything that's just going on, Lord. We just pray that your peace would be among us, Lord. We just thank you for all your blessings.
Thank you. All right, call this meeting to order. I'd like to thank everybody for being here, first of all. Number two, it's good to be back in somewhat of a normal situation where we all can be in the same room and chit chat, and you can do business separated, but it's not the same business. So, and we'd like to thank anybody who is watching online. And hopefully we can all be back together, be able to fill the room. So, any addition or deletions to the agenda? Not at this time. All right. Normally we have a sign-up sheet. I forgot to mention that to begin with, but do we have anybody here for public comment? Okay. Matt, how are you, sir?
Good, you?
Well, I'm doing all right. All right, agenda items. Linville Fire Truck Developments.
Yes, sir. Do we come up?
Yeah, come up here and say.
You can sit down there in the current format. You don't have to stand at the podium.
That's right.
So, well, I was gonna say, what do you know and what do you need to know, I guess, before I just over-explain things.
I would assume I'd been out of the pocket a little bit. I'd go ahead and at least give a synopsis of catch us up.
So, there was a snafu with, the second bid from, let's see, we have C.W. Williams and E1 bidding on the engine. And if you'll remember the first bid, E1 submitted what they call a hydraulic four-wheel drive, which is not a true four-wheel drive, and it was determined that was not an apples-to-apples bid. And so
Okay.
E1 needed to resubmit. That was when last we met, I think. We
Right.
were in the midst of that. And E1, help me here, Mark, did not get their bid in ahead of the deadline, the stated deadline. The official deadline.
The one that was correct.
But they did submit one, which means that there's a number out there, in the ether, which calls into question once things are out,
There's a number out there that we would like to include, I'm assuming.
Well, there's a number out there, but the problem is in a sealed bid system.
They still beat Rosenbauer.
Yeah.
But the question is, because the official bid came in after the 2nd of March,
You can't.
where do we go?
Because it would be easy for
Technically, that's probably-
C.W. Williams / Rosenbauer is
Mhm.
the distributor versus the manufacturer, but they could call shenanigans and say, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
And when you're dealing with $500,000,
Right.
that they might.
Right.
And so we're just wanting to come to you tonight to see what is the best wisdom here, what is the truck committee's.
Do we have a number? We do?
Yeah.
Do we want to say it? Yeah.
That's what I was.
And this is ballpark. Forgive me for not having it with me, because I figured we were just going to throw it out.
But the number is.
Their bid price
The bid from E1,
E1, it
which was submitted late.
600, 28, 38, 48, 658,000. And possibly a little bit of change, I don't remember the exact number. It was 30,000 less than Rosenbauer.
So they were the lower bid, but they submitted.
But they also had the advantage of knowing the high bid.
Yeah, because once the deadline had passed, the numbers.
And that's the perfect scenario, isn't it, Scott?
It is. So,
For you and me.
so that's disqualified tech.
Well, and we're in the technical world right now, so, the
Well,
question comes.
but if we have a bid that was submitted wrong, incorrectly,
inappropriately.
then that's,
Technically
to?
kicked it out.
so that leaves us with how many?
One, there were only 2 bids submitted.
Right,
Because I thought the night that we discussed the bid, that was, we decided to send it back to the trust committee to look at that.
Well, something's gonna have to happen. None of these bids are anywhere close to what we can afford.
I was going to get into a bigger budgetary, conversation, which would include that. So I'm not, when it comes to the bids, I'm not sure how to proceed on that.
I don't think we have a choice but to remove it.
Yeah, you have to rebid it.
That's what we're saying, is we could reopen the bidding process, new rule, new seal, on what new everything. Both companies resubmit and.
But the second
Well-
issue there is if we're not talking money that we're gonna be able to do, then something needs to be looked at.
We're wasting everybody's time.
To cut it down where we're more realistic where we need to be. I mean,
Right.
if that's the case, there's no point in rebidding it and putting it off even longer when,
Right.
if the money's not gonna be there to do
But
it.
after having been through the truck committee process, I have to believe that the truck is what it needs to be,
Right.
It's the purpose of the committee in the first place, which is to get the truck that the department needs,
Right.
so.
Number one, on the legal side of the bid process and rebidding, which you've had, the one, do they have grounds to, I mean, of course, we don't have to accept anything.
I went the wrong door too.
We don't have, do we need a legal opinion on that? To make sure we don't get in hot water?
We don't have to accept the bid.
We don't have to
can
accept
accept
anything,
the
we're
bid.
not bound to accept anything
Okay,
that I'm aware
Yeah, we don't have to.
all right, that's my main concern, is make sure we don't make a move that somebody has.
of. And I've not heard anybody objecting to reopening bids if that's what we need to do, but, Shane
Right.
makes a good point. What are we doing if the numbers are still beyond what
Right.
is practicable, then we've got to do something else.
Okay, so we will be looking at rebidding. And part of the issue is, as long as we are good legal-wise with not accepting any bids and rebidding, because maybe they're all too high.
Didn't work in business, such as yourself and, Mark, whoever else, works in the bidding world more than I do. I'm a school teacher, so I don't bid anything. So,
Right.
I trust y'all's probably got judgment on that unless you feel a strong need to get some kind of legal opinion.
Well, that might not be,
There's a lot of common sense that plays into the bidding process.
I think I may just have to check on it, Jeff. Make sure we can just say, we not gonna accept any bids and rebid it. All right, that handles that part, the legal side. Does that make sense, guys? That's my first concern. So just double check and make sure we can do that. Then on the rebidding part, the only thing that having just gone through the budget process, my only concern is, do we have the money? And how do we handle the money? And I don't know, maybe it needs to be a $650,000 truck. But the way I'm looking at it is, we've got 40 trucks in the fleet, right? About 4 trucks, and I know they're not all the same. You got your bumpers and your tanker, and then maybe equipment trucks not as much as, the other ones. But if you got 40 trucks, and you probably need to replace them at least every 20 years, what do you think?
That's what, that was the original theory.
Right. Well, that's 2 a year.
Yeah.
Or at least 3 every 2 years.
Right.
1 and then 2. And if we got 1 last year, what I would rather, I don't think we know how much we can spend on a truck, to be honest with you. I mean, because we just went through the budget process, and in my opinion, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, we have an equipment, the trucks money, the truck fund is called what, just equipment or trucks? Capital equipment. Well, that includes brush trucks too, right? Yeah. And everything. So I think your main trucks, the pumpers and the tankers and the equipment truck need to have their own deal, because you got to get those rotated out or we're losing ground. How's the one you're looking to replace?
Our newest, yeah,
So.
See, this was actually,
I do that.
23-ish.
Yeah, see, it needs to be replaced. And so if we need to have a 20-year projection, okay, if we end up putting out more money than we can afford on trucks, then we're losing ground. Then you got trucks that you're hanging on to for 30 years.
part of the
But
issue too, though, out of their budget, it was out of the previous budget year. So we're really stuck with that I'm gonna say 450-ish.
14.
410.
What was set aside for that truck. We're not even,
yeah, I mean,
Well, you can't, but you can't get custom, you can't get four-wheel drive.
neither one of those are reaching below, neither one of those
And
reaching
I
below.
just want to say, I've heard it said many times that four-wheel drive, that would be the first thing I would throw out there. It's not that beneficial.
I'm gonna
I've
disagree
heard
with
that.
you.
It is.
Well, I believe
It's on
you're
the
the one
region.
that told us that whenever you was on the truck committee.
Can't imagine that, because,
But,
I can
I
give
mean,
you several
I
examples.
well, I've been on for
Now,
20
I'll tell you
years and I
this.
don't remember a fire that we ain't been able to get to.
I can think of three where a four-wheel drive was the only truck.
I can tell you one specific, Wake Midfields.
That's one. And I don't know that a four-wheel drive would have got up there.
Well, it wouldn't, because theirs wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because we had the only one in
But it,
town.
but it got the farthest and
So,
what was put on it. was that
Well-
truck.
Cross Store had one that I plowed into, there where Joe Chapman used to live. You remember
we
that?
ended up getting stuck.
So we got the fire.
And, well, it didn't really have to do the fire.
Okay.
My line did.
What we need to do is we gotta come to terms with the money and the trucks. And I think we need to separate trucks from equipment, capital equipment. I mean, and I would want, it just seems that if you can get trucks replaced, and if we come up with a long-range deal, which what we talked in the budget process includes facilities maintenance and facilities remodels or replacement. You know, we got this L Park floor thing, and that's, you know, nasty. Yeah, on the sawdust floor. And it's something that we need to kind of get onto pretty quick. Because we need to start moving ahead on these things. And I think that if we have a 20-year plan on trucks, assuming inflation as well, and we have at least a 10-year, 15-year something on facilities, and we're coming up short just even on the basics, there's your selling point.
I mean, I think we could add some money to that, but I think this number, the number we're looking at on that is just, it's not gonna be realistic. I mean, we just had, Frank just bid one out for.
Well, and I think we need to come to terms with who needs what truck too. Okay, I mean, I think that if, we got to get all that decided. And the truck committee can approve the specs, but if it's done without a budget number, you know, I don't know, maybe we need a 650 truck and then we just got to work that out. But it seems to me to move forward and to start getting these trucks replaced on a regular schedule, we know what we need, we know what we're going to do, we know what we're going to replace, and not be reinventing the wheel each time or whatever. So we need to come to terms with all that. Now, with that said, how do we come to terms with it? Because we need to go ahead and get a truck, because the longer we wait, the more we're falling behind.
Well, we've already cost ourselves about 50 grand by not getting it on schedule from last year because prices went up, steel went up, you know, I mean, that's.
Right. And this money's from current year?
No, the
Previous year.
Oh, so we're going through this year and last year.
We're 2 years into this process
because
now.
out of this budget will be Frank's truck.
All
Out of
right,
this budget year that we're currently.
okay. Any suggestions? I'm thinking you've got an inventory of trucks, correct?
Yeah, I mean, all of just the very, very new stuff that,
All right, so you need to update that list.
yeah,
Let's know what we have and who has it.
Okay.
Right? And then you'll have age.
have age,
Well, for each truck, you
have
should,
year, make, model,
year, make, model, I'd have been on
everything.
everything. All right, let's collect the information that we have. All right.
I think one thing we're going to have to look at too, I mean, it's my opinion, I mean, that 20-year thing, you know, that's really for a primary truck if we want to try to keep a truck under that age and stuff, or even younger if we can, but
Right.
I think we're going to have to start looking at with some of these trucks, if they're well maintained and they're doing fine, that they may say in service long, they may not be the main truck, but with some of these emission stuff and everything that's
The
going
question
on.
I would have with that, just because I've seen it in the school system before too, is that if you incentivize that way, then departments are not encouraged to take care of their trucks because they know they'll get replaced quicker the less they take care of them. I mean, I don't want to.
Right.
But that
No.
will happen.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
Is there
And those
a,
who take the best care of their trucks get punished by not getting.
is there a,
Well, I'm not
Are
saying
they-
not necessarily, I'm just saying that we can get more life out of it. is what I'm
That's probably
saying.
true. You see, my point is,
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
just
totally
saying
go
more,
on, you know,
more life out of
the quicker your trucks wear out, the sooner you'll get another one.
I know,
and I'm assuming, is there
That
a,
means you get Blue Ridge to, service it so he don't freeze.
Yeah, that means you get people to pencil whip them.
well, I know.
is there a refurbish option or not really?
That's, Newland is actually looking at, when it comes up for them to refurbish their
Is that what you call
engine.
it?
Yeah, 7201, yeah. Because Ryan keeps saying it's a good truck, but it's just got a few minor issues. And
What's involved in a refurbish?
they pull the box off of it, the actual, the
You
firebox.
transmission.
You can actually have them rolling on the fleet.
Yeah, they can do the whole thing.
Sometimes.
That's,
Say half.
Yeah, I think it's about half. And half, 3, 4. And
but now, you don't want to get on stuff with a refurb truck and not have it
Right.
looked at every 10 years or something, because then they're stuck with they're technically a 30-year-old truck.
Mhm.
It needs to be looked at pretty heavy on the 10-year mark or something, see if, that's kind of a catch-22.
All right. How about we do this? Jeff gets the updated inventory list and get a rotation list, a replacement schedule, just based on age and what would happen, okay? And then, and you can do it for either 2 a year or 1 a year or whatever. Well, I mean, I'd do it 2 a year, 1.5 a year, which would be 3 every 2 years. And put some numbers to that. I mean,
Okay.
general numbers on what a truck costs. Now, you've got information from here and then what Green Valley did.
And we got Green Valleys, which was the last truck we actually got.
Mhm.
We got this one and what they had bid out 2 months ago, something like that. I mean, so
That's what I'm saying. I think we've got a,
I
I think we've got an idea of
we
a number that we can
start
kind of
putting numbers
put it together and say, this is what you got, and you have to figure out
Well,
how to make it work.
that's your starting point though, I think. I think here's your list, here's what money we're talking about right now. And then, okay, what can we do? Right now, and that's somewhere to start, I think. Knowing what we gotta replace and basically how much it's gonna cost to replace it. That's where you start. And then we go from there. I mean, we do gotta come to terms with the truck committee and the specs on what we need and what we have to pay extra for, I guess. I don't know what to tell you about that. Any other ideas?
I think we kind of got the numbers, we just need to make sure that it fits the budget and just tell them, this is it, this is the money you got to work with, and then between them and the truck committee, they're going to figure out how they're going to get to there.
Mhm.
I mean, Get blood from a turnip.
How's that gonna play out if we put 250 in it, let's just say, where the fire commission holds a lien on the truck, how's their 250 gonna play out in that?
Well, but that's what we can work through.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we gotta put all that on the table, and that's how we come to terms with it. If,
That's why I said,
Yeah.
if we say 500,000 is
Yeah.
what we're willing to,
if we got a
Put
budget
towards
of
it then.
500,000, and we're gonna try to get $1 million to replace 2 trucks every year, and that may change, right? I mean, the equipment truck's not as much as pump.
Right.
So
And
we
we
work
won't
through
know all
that,
that.
and we may be able to, depending on what truck is replaced, you might have more money to be able to throw it over toward another.
If you had an accurate schedule, you could project and probably actually put more in a truck, bumper, if you had a projection of when your equipment trucks and other trucks were gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
we actually had a little more money set aside this year for the,
You also can't
Um,
because we set 700,000 aside,
schedule.
which a brush truck come out of that, so.
Well, that's another thing, we gotta leave money aside
I
for
got
that.
a new one.
But that's been paid, the brush truck, part of it's come out.
You know, the facilities are one thing that we want to address, and we talked about that during the budget time. Because we got issues. My opinion is that the trucks are the whole deal, right? You know, to bring. Exactly. So we need to get, would you all be okay if we had Jeff put together that list? Let's get a schedule, let's get a number, and Jeff, if we need to have this before next meeting,
Okay,
and then we can maybe start beating that around and come to terms with what we need to do. And
Do the 2 companies in question need to hear something from us in the near future, I guess is my question.
okay,
I mean, I think what's gonna have to happen, if, Jeffrey confirms that we're good with rejecting them, I'm pretty confident we are, then he will need to let them know that the bid.
So you'll communicate with them? Or, I didn't know if we need to, or if y'all would, I mean, that's.
It comes
to the truck committee or
They
whatever.
come to us, right, so we
The
will.
rebid would have to go through the commission.
Right. I just want to make
So-
sure, I don't need to call anybody on the, until.
well, I just want to make
I
sure
wasn't in
we're
contact with nobody.
we're all understanding we're not going to accept any bids. Is that, were you there on that? Okay. So we're not going to accept any
Then
bids.
they're gonna want to know, do we rebid, and that's what we don't know yet.
That's correct.
Because we're wasting their time if.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we need to expedite this part to get on top of it pretty quick. And then that's a long-term solution, I think. But we need to get on that now, because if we're looking at money from previous year from this year, and we're almost in the next year, we're too far behind on that.
And I don't mind a bit to contact, the reason I'm asking is because I don't want to water the lines with them, because there already was some confusion over where they sent the bid to, because they had our address and
Just-
city y'all's.
You
And
and
I
you
feel
and
like
Jeff
it's-
work that
Yeah,
out.
that's fine, I just wanted to,
Okay. All right,
thank you.
we good there? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeff, you got, you're straight on what you gotta do there?
Yeah.
All right. Elk Park floor. We got a,
Well, you know, I guess before.
Yeah.
You have those information.
guys, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you want to explain that? It's my understanding, we've got a proposal for $6,000 to see what's going on, and that is just to see what's going on. That's not to fix, that's the engineering to see why we got the problem, and then the estimate comes to how to fix it. Is that right?
Yeah, they gotta do core samples, throughout the structure as well as the part of them. they're saying that there's a possibility that there's a crater under the concrete. That is just, that the dirt has eroded and, is sunk.
Mhm.
And, they said the whole building had sunk 3 inches.
The whole building,
Yeah,
not necessarily evenly, I suppose.
no.
Okay.
Trying to think of what else he said. He was saying that there was sinking in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
He also said that he would not drive a fire truck in the building where we have our squad parked. That it-
Oh, on that end?
Yeah, potentially.
Because that's on the right side as you're looking at from the road?
Yes, sir.
Because that side is worse
That's
than
what
the
the
other.
building was on. I don't know if you've seen pictures
Well, I've heard that.
at the
Yeah.
door.
Mhm.
But he, took a tamping rod or whatever they use, and he went down approximately 2 foot
Mm-hmm.
and did not get solid.
Mm-hmm.
Do nothing for that 2 foot
Right.
on the slab.
That's as far as he had to go.
Okay.
He could probably went further. That's just how far he stick.
And that
So
part,
he knows it's at least 2 feet before he gets on.
yeah, that part of the fire department was built on later. It's a later addition.
Oh, the right side.
So I've talked to some of the former members,
Mm-hmm.
and, actually it was members and some community members that built
Mm-hmm.
it. And, they tell me, at one time, years ago, maybe back through the 50s and 60s, it was sold on that end. So we're,
And so what we're looking to do tonight is approve this so we can move forward on trying to fix that.
to see what,
See
see what
what
it's
we
gonna
take
cost.
Right.
They're gonna be able to determine if that part of the building is safe with this test?
They say they would.
They'd be able to determine what's wrong with this test and then we
Yeah.
know for sure what's going on.
By bringing the soil out, what do they call it?
It's the core samples. They told us that they could, with this, they could, have a written plan that a contractor
Probably
need
do
to
Proctor
go
test too, on the soil.
do.
Proctor test.
Yeah, it's,
It tells you
it's in the.
How deep you are.
Yeah,
Well, it tells you that how much the soil is capable of supporting in weight
Mhm.
by the density of it.
And of course, that sawdust over time has.
Rocks turned into mush.
Mush,
Mhm.
because it's all in. It's a safety, to me, it's safety too, because most of our personnel enter the building to jump in the squad or some of our apparatus. And, it's a matter of time before somebody comes in and talks.
Well, no, we need
The
to,
step is down a whole lot more. I think at one time, make it like this, and
mhm.
now it's like this.
Right.
We've got a few that's actually prone, so we just,
Okay, guys, we got their request. We need some discussion or questions, concerns.
How soon can we do it?
Soon as we get some money.
Just like the
That's everybody, yeah.
So since I didn't print you off the sheet you have, the way it stands in our capital projects, budget, we have $36,000 left in it right now,
Okay,
in our capital project.
all right. Any more discussions or questions, concerns?
I'll make a motion to approve this quote for $5,950 to proceed.
And to take that out of capital projects money? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There you go, guys.
thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Let's get shored up.
Okay, thank you.
It's like a boat.
Boy, it's cracking on that. The wall, it's sheer, poured solid. So,
That's what's on the floor.
well, no, I'm saying the basement wall, which is actually above ground.
Yeah.
Is poured solid. So it's taken a tremendous force to shear it. the concrete and the steel should be in the sales.
It's cracked, all of it. I mean, it even crosses.
Crosses the joint,
Yeah.
which is usually a bad sign,
There's block.
or goes outside of the joints, I guess.
It's not ball and sink.
You know, usually it looks like a stair step, well, it's done that.
Well,
So,
how long does that, something like that take to get back to test?
I would say they'll do most of it, as far as proctor tests and some of that, they'll do it right there.
Oh, so it's not a 2-month deal?
They spec the lab tested it.
Okay.
The lab test is actually a Coleman stone, and they will take the soil and boil, or fry it. I don't know if you ever saw that, it's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
And, what that does is takes all the moisture out and the actual weight of the dirt. There's a scale that tells them what the dirt's ability to support weight is.
All right, we'll get that back and see what that deals with. All right, Rover times, next on the agenda.
The pathetic profile trail for 18 months every day.
Shane, you wanna go over that?
Yeah, we mentioned this, our last meeting, that we had about, since we got some new positions and stuff, they'll be changing around, to talk about the road positions a little bit, about possibly moving, some times around for more coverage, or later coverage in the afternoons on Monday through Friday. Did have a time to pull some, the calls that kind of happen between after 3 o'clock when our employees go off now and 6 o'clock at night, and roughly at apartment, it's about at least 100 calls in the years, about what we're looking at. So
In Avery County?
in Avery, yeah, for each department.
After 300 calls after 3 in Avery County.
From 3 to 6 o'clock at night,
Okay.
or in the evening, that's when, just to kind of give us an idea of kind of what response we're looking at. And Brian has actually pulled some other stuff too, I think, that he gives everybody in the packet. So, so what I was wanting to kind of do is maybe see if we could, maybe put a committee together or something like that, involving the chiefs and stuff, to try to research this a little more. And I think it would be very beneficial for us with the calls we're seeing in the department, because nobody has anybody back in their department or in their district at 3 o'clock if they're working. For the most
So
part, I would think.
what you're talking about is having somebody at the fire station when the schedule is implemented from 7 to,
We'd have
they're there from 7 to 3,
3.
and then so essentially it'd be from 7 to 6. Want somebody to be there 6 at night. So we gain 3 hours.
Correct.
By doing that, having someone who could, the response time, or have somebody right there. Okay.
And there would be times overlap, that'd be a lot of hours overlapping there, so.
Yeah.
Hydrant testing, or,
Right.
you know, things that 2 people need to be doing, you'd have
Mhm.
some time that 2 people would be there, and then, of course, obviously response, and maybe even slowly phase it in. So maybe talk about, since we got some of these newer positions, maybe having a trial for, you know, running it for
And
a
if,
couple of stations or something to see.
all right, so we're talking about shifting the 2 guys at the station to where they would have a little bit, you'd have 3 hours more coverage. Not, one was always covered, but at the other stations we'd have from 7 to 6. And there would more than likely need to be, I think the policy manual
Yeah, it has to.
says 7 to 3, so it's gotta be a situation where we change the policy manual. And knowing that the chiefs control these things, they probably need to, did the policy manual say anything about the chiefs and
Is it on
we need to take a look, and make
It
sure.
just basically says here the hours.
That's in here, chief and coordinator, establish the hours
Okay,
for schedule.
so the chief's gotta be on board with that too. So, what y'all's thoughts on that? I mean, it makes sense to me if everybody's on board and we get everything passed. And we could work toward that end. So. What do y'all think on that?
I'd say probably be a good idea to bring it before the fire commission, talk to the chiefs, and see what they say before we start pushing.
Didn't you poll them?
I mean, there's that sheet right there, that graph, the spreadsheet, right on the top. No, in your hand, that one. It's got the chief polls on there.
Which I don't, they don't, I think the bad thing about this, I mean, most of the chiefs were said no, and I think that come from the existing employees. That they didn't want to change their hours, I think was a lot of that, but I just think we need to all sit down and look at what's best for the whole county and for the districts, not just for maybe what the employees want, but, and say, like I say, maybe doing a trial run, maybe doing, slowly phasing it in, not, I mean, it doesn't have to be implemented tomorrow by no means, but,
Right.
I think it's something with what we pulled in the numbers, I think it's definitely worth taking the time to look at it and the numbers definitely show that it's a.
It's a help to have
The need
it
is there,
when you're.
the need is there, the call volume is there that I think is justified.
All right, what's the best way to proceed here, gentlemen? Ideas?
It's gonna be a committee that approaches the fire association.
Fire Association?
Yeah, the chiefs
Or
committee.
maybe have
Oh.
a meeting with the chiefs
Think
here.
that the fire commission is obligated to, by the one meeting we had with the commissioners, to, bring any changes of any type before the, association.
Okay,
Correct me if I'm
Yeah, I
wrong.
think you're right.
okay,
So I mean, basically needs a meeting before then and the chiefs, a discussion.
so get that discussion and that's how we proceed.
I would think that would be right. I mean, I would
So-
think that would be right. The only thing that, I mean, just pops in my head, and I'm just saying this for thought, is my understanding, and I'm probably right, is that the whole purpose of two employees is for them to protect each other when they're dealing with a victim that is a single whatever. So if we separate them, we're kind of defeating the purpose of having two employees.
Well, that and the safety issue, just being around the station, anything can happen, you're up on the truck, checking it out.
Well, there's still times that they're by themselves, I mean, even in
I'm
our
just saying,
situation
I
right
mean-
now, I mean, it's not like.
But that's what you're going to be going up against.
Right.
You go against.
Well, let me ask you this, is there any problem with anybody on this board of going to the association with the idea and seeing what, man, we're at? Because you had one that was okay with it, that would cross more. So, Rob, you're good?
Good with that.
If, Shane, you want to get with Jeff, and the two of y'all go before the association and lay that out and see what we can do. And now there's pros and cons. I mean, it's good to have more coverage, but there's also another side of that. So, let's, if you two can work that out and see what you come up with, and then come back with us with what they were thinking and see if we go somewhere.
That's likely to put three of us at the association meeting discussing
That
this.
constitutes a meeting.
Do we
Oh,
propose that?
Oh, because you two were on you two were there.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's something with the association meeting though that you can, as long as
Well,
we're not conducting business.
now, if you discuss it, it's considered a meeting, we were told by Bill's administration.
Can we not just post the meeting, have the meeting,
Am I not right on that?
have the association meeting, I mean?
can we have a meeting associated? Yeah,
I would say we just post our meeting
With
at
them,
the same
at
time,
the association.
and the three of y'all can be there.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'd be all right. They put us
Well, it
all,
would be
they
a,
put us all in the same room at the same time.
God forbid, so that's that would be, we would call that that's a special meeting.
Yeah.
Because the three of them will be there to constitute the meeting.
Yeah.
And Matt, you're more than welcome to go. I guess I can go too, if you wanted to. Oh, really? All right.
We could actually,
Okay.
didn't they used to combine the meetings? If you want to do that, just post it and combine both meetings at one time.
Well, no, you'd have to run the meeting
Yeah,
early or late.
this would probably need to be a special meeting, I guess. That's the way I think I do it. Just get you and Shane, and then of course the two of them being there, so we post a special meeting at the next association meeting.
Okay.
And move forward with that and see what happens. All right, sound good? All right, item D, Shane, let's talk about extra trucks.
We kind of talked about that a little bit with him, kind of already a little bit, so I'm going to do that. The other thing that we've mentioned several times, with our extra vehicles that we have, about what we need to keep and
Well,
what we need to get rid of, and that
yes,
sort of thing. We need to make sure that gets, I guess, with the list there that we need to.
he can do the inventory and he can designate what's extra, right?
Yeah, I mean, we already know what's extra. I think we just need to start, we just need to, the vehicles has been replaced and their vehicles are supposed to have been sold. And
Well,
we gotta take it out, the fleet needs to be taken out.
right. My thoughts on that is, I don't know that we need a bunch of, a halfway decent truck, or maybe people have sentimental value toward old trucks. But to me, if we're replacing it, it gets gone. And in my opinion, we sell that thing, you put that money back toward new trucks.
No.
The what?
You don't get much out of it.
Well, I know you don't, but,
But still,
We're-
we're paying insurance and stuff on the vehicles. And they're supposed to be.
well, and we have a problem since I've been here, is where you gonna put them? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think, Jeff, with your on this deal, all those trucks is a part of the inventory, okay? And then, once you get that, and we start looking at that next month, then that can be on the agenda too, to what to do with these trucks. And if we need a reserve, then we got it, we fix it up to be a reserve, right, and have a place to put it. But if it's not, then we figure out what we want to do there. Does that sound good with everybody? All right, got it, Jeff? All right, we need to talk about paying more on the Frank loan for the loan for the station. Who's bringing that up?
It was brought up, it was, you guys,
Okay,
yeah, you guys want to brought it up, so.
okay, we got,
You recall,
So we-
You don't have that date,
what we're talking about is paying principal payments to get that paid down quicker.
It was,
it's in your packs.
I want to say, I may be wrong, figure 70,000 left that we have for down payment that was set aside for Frank,
Mm-hmm,
that we never did use. Now, the money figures may be wrong,
mm-hmm,
but it was just set for Frank, to get started on the building. We just borrowed the money and didn't use very much of it.
right,
So it's supposed to be somewhere. I know it's there, just, I don't know what it's stuck in. It's in a separate. back around.
so we've got, I'm trying to wrap around my brain, the money that we're talking about.
We were in the creation, if you couldn't pay it off early, and we had been told maybe we could.
Mhm.
So we wouldn't be penalized.
And we had to be anticipating that.
Right, and we won't be?
And we would not be. And we're what we're talking about.
That's how we paid,
Well, it seems like it's a no-brainer, if there's any residual money to pay or extra.
so 70, and they really ain't.
So we've got,
Well, yeah,
we've got a little over $92,000.
okay. So, and is that for that, or is that, what else is
That's
that?
what that was set aside.
Okay.
So if he's right, with the number of 70,000, then that, what they had set aside, it's in this account too.
Okay, in the land and building, and that's the bulk of what that is.
It's 92,000.
Okay, and so what we're looking at is making,
The question is, where it's set aside for their starting, can we use that for that? Can we spend that for that?
That was the first question.
Yeah.
As long as it's going towards Frank's building, you use it for anything.
Okay.
The second question was, can we use the debt reduction fund to reduce this loan further next year?
No, you don't have a debt reduction fund. That fund is actually where our rollover money from these past few trucks we have not purchased has come from.
All right.
So we have to keep, what'd she say, 20%?
8%.
We have to keep 8%. They recommend keep, or 20%.
8% of our entire
Of
budget.
our operating budget, but Cindy said that she recommended we keep 20, and that's what we've been doing. In that, debt reduction account on top of just our truck money. So every year, we like to never found this, by the way. This took us 4 days to find where in the world that was at. But at the end of last year, Charlie took the money that was in our account for last year's truck and moved it to that debt reduction account. So that keeps building that up, and we've done that, looks like twice. So there's 2 trucks in that debt reduction account. So,
well, my comment on that, my thoughts on that is that I'm all about debt reduction and getting that building paid off and not have any debt. But I don't know that we do that. You don't pay extra on the debt if you're at the sacrifice of the truck. What's y'all's thoughts? And that's my only
Well, we
concern
got,
about,
my point is, we got this 92,000 that we can.
that's in that account.
That's in that account, that's for that, and that's not touching anything with the trucks or anything like that we need.
now, we've got 92,000 in that account. One other thing that was brought up is we put 106,000 out of our budget for that every year into that account. Well, what if we don't quite get enough for it or something like that? It was said that we could, if we had an extra 106 in that account, we could cover that payment for a year and wouldn't be in trouble. Does that make sense?
If you get to the point that you know you've got $106,000 payment and you can't make it,
Right.
you're done anyhow.
Yeah, you're not in the right position.
Because immediately we're putting that money into it each year.
So the first check we get goes into that.
You know, your question about, do we pay off the loan at the expense of the fire truck?
Mhm.
My question is, do we pay the loan at the expense of the fire truck? Because we're paying $733,000 in interest. I mean,
That'd buy Limble's truck right there.
my local truck right there.
Each time you have that loan, it might be. Good for his.
So that's the other side of that.
Yeah, that's a fair amount.
Um,
And we're five years into that loan?
So this is year 5. We just paid on year 5.
I think so,
What was it, 20-year loan?
20-year loan.
So we're $200,000 or $250,000
There,
in the interest.
Should be a little, probably stronger than that if it's, because as it gets low, unless it's.
In year 5, it's about 50/50.
They've got that amortization schedule on there. We will have paid $250,000 in interest. this year.
so,
That's $500,000,
All right.
we'll say.
so we've got 92,000 in the debt reduction account for this year. Or,
This is total, yeah, what's
What's in there
that
now.
account.
so do we want to go ahead and approve to make a payment on that, on the loan? And then during next budget time, we consider another one, but it has to go with everything else, which includes the trucks, right? Okay,
Do we know what the interest is on that?
I'm thinking 60%.
I think I did 575, but I was.
Why don't we see if we can refinance it?
yeah, that's,
Yeah, now with it.
well, now that's through a regular bank, is that right?
It's United, across the street.
And so is there not
The government.
a government,
No, the loan is through that, on that paper that you've got, the loan company name is on there.
It's United.
Municipal lease and option
Yeah.
agreement.
municipal?
Yeah, they do a loan for,
The lease or so United Financial of North Carolina.
yeah, United Financial is a different company than United Community Bank. All they do is loans for municipalities.
What
Fire
was,
departments, big buildings.
And, the interest may be lower than that, I would have to check with.
did
That
that,
looks like it's about right.
how did that, getting that loan go about? Did the fire department do that or did the commission do that? Or was it?
Well, we bought it from the commission, they signed for the loan,
Okay.
I think.
To Mark's point,
Fire departments.
We signed for the loans.
Yeah.
On the final thing.
yeah, because
That's what I'm saying.
they're getting their.
We're taking all the credit.
Right,
We signed for the loans, we sold.
right.
They had to, or they wouldn't. We are not a nonprofit organization in Humoya.
Right,
The fire department got that municipality loan.
okay,
We could not get it because we're a profit organization. We're not a C,
501c.
501c, yes. So they got it through them, and we have to write them a check, they take it paid.
that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I would have thought it'd been closer to about 2 or 3%. Being a fire department, a nonprofit and a fire department.
You can look right here. But it's-
Yeah, I mean, you can get a 30-year on your house for 4, can't you, or?
Yes, we talked 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know. So I think,
And
now, I know you could,
1% now.
does the county have a new finance officer?
Yeah,
I think there's a process.
yeah, that's changed. Change it.
Jeff, we need to find out who we can try to contact somebody.
They won't talk to me. I done tried.
No, I'm talking about contacting somebody through on the fire side to say, hey, contact somebody, find out how they're getting loans for trucks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Through the fireman side, through the state association or whatever. Somebody knows, we're not the only ones financing the building, or I keep saying trucks, I guess, but we're not the only ones financing the building.
Right.
Let's contact somebody.
Johnny might be able to call this guy where they done it and see.
I called them, they wouldn't talk to me.
If Johnny would call them and say, hey, and just check on the possibility and just get see if,
Well, if,
They may turn around and say, well, we refinance for X, so much less. Or-
yeah,
I mean, I
Well,
think
it
that's
doesn't-
gonna be our quickest route of trying to.
well, it doesn't hurt for them to know that we're looking. And if through whatever resources, Jeff, that you can maybe contact.
Yeah.
To find out how other people finance stations.
Okay.
All right. So now back to the original question. How much and do we want to put into that?
If you're gonna try to refinance, you wanna pay off on some of
I would
it?
say hold on to that.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
Okay,
At least right now.
all right, we'll hold on to that. Jeff, we're gonna put that's another item on your list there, bro. And then we'll see if we can refinance and then get some of that paid down, get that thing done. All right, we all good with there? Bob Putney, budget concerns. Bob, come on up.
Good evening. I want to thank you all for letting me come before you tonight and put me on the agenda. I take no pleasure in coming here tonight. It's not good for me, but I felt that it's incumbent upon me to be here. Last I was before you, the chairman wasn't here, but it was during budget. It was April 30th, and I came before you and presented Beech Mountain's budget And I gotta be honest with you, I left there feeling not very good. I didn't feel I was treated very well, and I felt like you thought I was wasting your time. And when I left, I actually agreed with you. It was a waste of time. But a couple things that occurred during that meeting that I took away as, I know all of you, I took away as fact. And I come to find out just last week that what I was told turned out not to be the truth. And that's what I want to come here today and face y'all and tell you what I think and what my problem is. If you recall, I came and I presented Beech Mountain's budget, and I indicated that what the Fire Commission had sent us was a 40% reduction over last year's last year's appropriation. And there was very little discussion. You really didn't ask me any questions. In fact, most of you didn't seem to care that I was there. But the fire coordinator said, pretty close to a quote, that almost every fire department had taken a reduction from last year's monies. And I remember saying that, well, if they did, and it was close to what Beech Mountain was being offered, I'd close my books up and leave. There was no agreement on that, so I continued. And I talked to you about the quarter share funding and all the things that I've talked to the commission about for a number of years each time we do budget. And I brought up the fact that Beech Mountain doesn't come back over the period of the next 11 months and ask you for additional money. You spend a lot of money, taxpayers' money, every month for things that aren't budgeted. And hopefully you all recall this. The last thing, well, Mark tells me, he says, listen, here's the dirty little secret. There's not enough money to go around for everything that everybody wants to do. And I agreed with him, and I said, it really isn't a secret. Everybody pretty much knows about it. There was a lot of silence. There was no questioning about my budget that I produced or anything like that. And the last thing that ended the meeting, Shane looked up from his phone and said, we'll call you and tell you what we decide. I thanked you. I packed up my books. I left. And to be honest with you, the drive back to Beech Mountain wasn't a pleasant one because I didn't think it was time well spent. Needless to say, there was no phone call. There was no communication. There was no email. There was no minutes. There was no, this is what we decided, nothing. What I found out, how I found out what Beech Mountain was getting, as well as everybody else, was I had to watch the Avery County Board of Commissioners meeting where the chairman made a presentation and the spreadsheet was there for the county commission to approve. And what I found out was one department had a decrease of 40%, Beech Mountain. Every other fire department had an increase, some pretty substantial. Now, I don't want to throw any stones, but some of the members on this fire commission have the highest increase over last year. Your department, Green Valley Department had some of the top three, and then Elk Park. Now, I don't want to infer anything there, but it didn't sit well with me. I watched the chairman talk to the county commissioners and tell them that every fire department was good with what their budget had been, and that wasn't true. I had been here on the 30th. You were not here, and I made it clear that wasn't the case. This isn't about me. It's not about Beech Mountain. It's about the Avery County taxpayers in my fire district. It's my job to represent them. They pay the same fire tax as everybody else. I went through and produced the budget just like everybody else did. I came here and represented them before you. And boy, I tell you, I don't know what happened, but I'm here tonight to ask for an explanation. What happened so that I can go back to my taxpayers, my Avery County taxpayers, and tell them why did Beech Mountain get a 40% cut from last year and no other fire department did? In fact, every other fire department, some got substantial increases. It doesn't sound right, and pardon the explanation, but it doesn't smell right. So I asked, I called the fire coordinator and asked to be put on the agenda. I talked to the county manager today, told him I was coming today. I have a dual role now, so I didn't want him to feel slighted. We had some discussion about those numbers, and he had some of the same concerns I did. I'll let him articulate those at his pleasure or not. But, you know, gentlemen, I came in good faith. I did the work in good faith. I explained it like I've explained it every year. And boy, my taxpayers got shafted. And so I'm here today to put it on the table and ask for an explanation.
All right, well, Bob, number one, for me personally, I appreciate you coming. I mean, if there's bad blood, we don't want there to be bad blood. And let's air it out and let's get it worked out so that we're all on the same team. Going through the budget process, we went line item by line item, station by station. Now, yeah, I don't know that you can take, what we need to do is look at those numbers that you're talking about. You know, a lot of stations requested a lot of different things, and we prioritize those things. So if you look at an overall budget, and whether it's big or small, it could be the difference between a capital issue or operational issue. The difference is there. If somebody's getting a capital something that's cost more, which would inflate that budget over another one, that could be the issue there. My recollection of the budget is that Beech Mountain and Seven Devils was that we kind of went back and was giving everybody essentially the same thing that they had the year before. So I couldn't tell you, I can't address to you why there would be a 40% decrease in my mind, and I'm not looking at it, and I want to take time to look down at what you're talking about. In my mind, you got what you got last year. But if you're saying that that's a 40% decrease, then for me personally, I want to go back and take a look at that and see, because I don't think it was the intent of the board to decrease anybody, more or less though to give everybody what they had the year before. But
that was the discussion we had on the 30th, and I expected the commission to at least review that, because there always seems to be a disconnect between how Beech Mountain is funded, because we're partially funded, quarter share and all that thing. This year, I didn't ask for what we had last year. I cut it by $5,000 from what we had on our request last year, and you know, I was doing our best to adequately use taxpayer funds. I was shocked when it was you know, we went from $61,000 and change to $37,000 and change, and those numbers didn't change from April 30th till tonight. And that, I guess that's, I didn't expect on April 30th to the numbers to be right, because quite frankly, for the last 10 years that I've been doing this, that's the meeting that we always discuss it with the fire commission. And some of you that have been on it a long time, you've heard the same speech from me every time on how that happens. But we did ask for a $5,000 decrease in our proposal that we sent in February. We got a 40% decrease, and no one else did. Yet I was told that most departments took a decrease. So you can imagine my concern.
Well, I can say from my standpoint, that night when you were here and we were discussing it, that we did discuss it after. And there should have been an email sent out to all the departments that went over what was discussed, right?
Not until not until they come back and told us what it was, and I've not heard nothing. See, our budget wasn't approved yet when we done our meetings.
Well, I guess that's partially I'll take partial blame for that. But what I thought was happening, what we discussed and what changes happened was going to be sent out to the chiefs to let them know what we had discussed. And what I remember specifically what we discussed with yours, but you mentioned about, you know, chiefs coming back for breakdowns and stuff like that. What was decided that night was to leave your budget where it was, and then if you had a major breakdown, the chief would come back to the commission just like everybody else did, and then we would give you a percentage of that. I apologize, I didn't get get back to you, but that's what was discussed that night after you left.
You realize the inequity of that. If you kept my budget the same as it was the year before, like everyone else, and we played by those rules, and I came back every month and asked for extra funds, that would be legitimate. But by cutting 40% and then telling me to come back and you'll give me a percentage of whatever it is I'm asking for every month, is still a net loss dramatically. And so that, if I had been told that in that meeting when there was really no discussion, we would have had that, I would have had an opportunity to discuss that with the fire commission. I'm serious. From April 30th until last week when I watched you online, I had heard nothing and had no idea what the final number was. And back on April 30th, I made it clear that you make it very difficult to budget for the operation of a fire department when you don't find out until, the first 2 weeks of June, what you may or may not be getting come July 1st. Now, it makes it difficult to run the organization that way. But the bottom line is, it's not fair to the Avery County taxpayers in my district.
Right.
And that's who I'm representing. Personally, I'm upset, but it's not me, and it's not you guys. It's the people who are paying the bill. It's not my money, it's not your money. I've got a good group of Avery County taxpayers in my fire district, some within the town, some outside the town in my district, and they need to be represented, and that's why I'm here tonight. It's as simple as that.
Bob, how about we do this? I'm going to give you an excuse that's not a good one, but it's what I'm going to give you, and then we'll go for this. We've been a little bit of a rough, I'm new and Mark's new, coordinator's new. We've been through 2 coordinators. We're a little bit scattered, and I've personally made mistakes and apologize for them. And so there's going to be holes in the system and cracks, and we're getting jailed here. And now that we have a coordinator, we did assistant coordinator. We went through our first budget time. Only a few of these guys have been through a budget before, a fire commission budget. I've been through some for the county. And so what I'm going to ask you is if you can be a little more patient and let me get with, we'll get with Jeff and let me look at those numbers and we'll let the commission know what's going on and address your concerns and get the information on them, because I can't talk about them right now.
I understand.
And let's give us a few weeks to get that together and work on it, and then we can discuss about it and see what we
can't
can
ask
do.
for more than that.
Right.
Yeah,
And I will apologize because I wasn't here. I'm online. I'm in quarantine, and Matt hadn't been here because of the same reasons. So it's been a little bit screwy, which is not necessarily a good excuse, but that's what I'm giving.
No, that's fine.
And so
it's an explanation, and
Right.
I was not aware that there was any discussion after I left. To be honest with you, when I'm driving back down the road, I figured you guys were waiting for me to get out the door so you'd pack up and leave. It was that, I don't know what your perception of it was, but I talked to Rob about it, and I talked to it at a fire association meeting. As far as I was concerned, that I expected to see, because of Mark's comments about how much money in the dirty little secret that we don't have as much hidden as we thought. I expected to see, cuts or, modest gains in departments. I was really set back when I saw your presentation and I saw that one department had a substantial cut, well, any cut, and that was Beach Mountain. Every other fire department had relatively substantial increases.
well, give us some time.
Sure.
We will address your concerns.
I appreciate it.
And you will be called back.
Thank you.
And we will address that, and maybe it's next meeting or whatever we need to do. But and we'll keep in touch with you on what's going on.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, coordinator report. Jeff, what the heck you been doing?
Well, it depends on what you want to do this week, I guess.
What?
I guess it depends on what you want to do this week. We've had too much going on, it ain't been fun.
Right.
I've been training Brian. We've got all him, he's pretty well able to do all the payroll and all that stuff. Pretty much the weekly stuff that I have to do anyway, so he's on a good level there. Started trying to spend some time at the library building, and he's been over had a day or two so far. He was over a day and a half this week.
So, let me understand.
Okay.
Brian is hired, we created a whole new assistant just recently.
Yeah.
To handle your job if you're not here.
Yeah.
And we are at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There's pretty well nothing that I do that he can't
Okay,
do for right now if he needs.
right, okay.
So, we've been dealing with all the account stuff. We've had all that going on. We spent a week on trying to find all these accounts and all this money. Running back and forth between Sandy and emailing the banks and stuff. Dealing with payroll issues. We ain't had nothing but payroll issues for, a month now, month and a half? 4 weeks in a row, checks ain't been out. So
Do we have that fixed? Do we have that solved?
I just checked the new ones, so
that do look good.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, there was a, just background information, we did hire a new, payroll and payables person. And there was during that change, or right after that, all the employees had the opportunity to change their withholdings, right? So there may have been, with new changes and those changes,
And new changes.
but
They
we-
put us in a,
but you were on top of it and we
Yeah,
got
it
it
looks-
figured. All
he
right,
said he's looked down, they look good.
okay.
One that's wrong.
This one got wrong, so
Okay.
we won't get murdered. But also, there's something.
All right, good deal. We've been through, 2 full ISO inspections so far between Frank and Elk Park. Brian run around for days trying to get paperwork straight for them. We've done,
And we passed.
we don't know yet, we don't know.
They're at least
a 9.
Yeah.
Well, how long does that kind of thing, after they come and do the inspection?
Could take up to 120 days.
Oh,
They usually get back.
Usually we're back to see, what you do,
Now-
was it 60 days?
And that, let me understand this as well, how that process works. They come and inspect, and that's what sets your rating. They come back with what your rating is after the inspection, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we'll see what happens.
And, I don't know, there's just a bunch of stuff. We've been just slam busy with trying to find all this truck stuff and new hires. We've been,
Now, where are we on that?
we're.
You got your committee set, and we've interviewed?
For new hires, we are at a closed session next for that,
Okay, never mind then.
so
All right.
that's
Well,
what,
we're proceeding with that, though.
We processed 9 people.
yeah, we've done 9, we had 9 applicants,
Oh, very good.
so,
That's a lot more than what was projected. Okay.
other than that, I mean, it's just really busy stuff we've been doing, trying to get stuff straightened out, and it's been a headache.
Okay. Is that your,
We do have one thing we're looking at that that we're gonna experiment with and then maybe bring up at the next fire commission meeting. We're looking at an app that Shane's already been using it some with EMS. It is you can do clock in, clock out on it. It does all of our time sheets, sends them to us. We don't have to wait on the guys to fill them out. It automatically calculates all their comp time, keeps up with their sick and vacation so they can see what's right there on on the app, what's going on. Scheduling, you can do truck checks. We send them a copy of Banner Up's truck check sheet. They put it in for nothing. It doesn't cost anything to put their truck check sheet on there. They take their phone out, do their truck check, with their phone, print it off, and they have a paper copy and a digital copy in minutes. And on top of that, we can link back and look and see, if they're doing their truck checks, you can say, okay, well, this person has been, and go and check behind them and follow up if we need to. Like it's been really needed.
So that is a station management app.
It is a station management app.
And that can be coordinated with payroll that Mrs.
Yes,
Okay.
and maybe.
Does that help? Does that help chief signing timesheets?
It,
You go in electronic.
yeah, you
Chief, you go
electronic
in and
sign.
fill it up and you electronic sign.
So
All right.
what we're looking at, it's $5 $5 a person a month. So we're looking at like $1,300 a year to have, all the people, our 15 employees, you know, we're fixing to hire to, all of our employees and each chief at every station will can have an access to it so they can see what's going on and
Mhm.
monitor everything. And then we figured one for the fire commission, just as an extra.
Mhm.
So, but it's what, $13,200, something, $1,320, something like that.
The only minimum was $500.
Yeah. And that was the only thing, we had to do a $500 minimum a year. So it's, once we get a little more information and we're on the trial, we get a couple people set up on the trial and get them to use it, then we're gonna,
So you're just gonna do a test run?
Yeah.
Right.
Bring it back to you.
yeah, so
Okay.
it's just kind of let you know what we got on the plate.
All
right.
One thing I need to get y'all to be sure to mention for the chiefs that are here, EMS is changing over their O2 company.
Yes.
They're only gonna have aluminum cylinders now, and they will not swap out with any department now, because they're gonna be their own cylinders. So we need to figure out, if y'all will kind of work on figuring out by the next meeting, and this actually changes over Tuesday, I think, is when they're changing over, but for the departments, if y'all have somewhere that y'all are filling, if y'all own your bottles, that type of thing, we need to figure that out, or if it's gonna be best for us, because I've talked to Mike about it, he's willing to still swap out, but we would have to buy the cylinders for the departments, and then at that point, you could swap them with EMS. But it has to be the aluminum cylinders, so we need to figure out pretty quick what we need to do.
It's not the only option at this point, because we haven't filled an option on all of them.
And I don't know if departments own their own oxygen bottles, or where they got them from, or what, I don't know. But they're swapping over Tuesday, so
That's fantastic.
after Tuesday.
That's good to know. I guess we'll just put regular air in them for a little while and do that. You know.
When they're old school fire.
We'll just take an air pack with us and do a fire alarm.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Anybody else have anything for Jeff?
It's pretty easy. As far as you know.
Good job, Mike.
We're good.
Smells like.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. All right. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2020. We got a motion and a second. All in favor? All right. Upcoming meetings. Next fire commission regular meeting is July 9th, 2020. It's 7 right here in the boardroom. Fire association meeting will be determined at a later date. And that means
As far
y'all,
as I know, they're meeting on the phone
and y'all,
Tell me otherwise, that's what I'm gonna put on here.
well, just make sure you coordinate our special meeting with,
We'll have to do that.
okay, just make sure you're doing that.
We just determined that tonight.
All right, next on the agenda is closed session according to Virginia statutes 143-318.11. We'll go into closed session for personnel. And the invitees are the board members and Jeff, correct? And Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
See at least one of these.
Okay. All right, so we are a motion to go out of.
You need Kyle, and then you need to request Kyle, because he's gonna be taking his minutes.
Okay, right, Kyle.
And we'll.
Well, we
eventually
can-
need Jeremy.
Okay, we'll call Jeremy in. All right, if we can do that. I need a motion to go out of regular session and into closed session.
So,
Got it? All in favor? Aye. Go to closed session. You can stay.
It's just full of nervous energy.
well, I don't imagine I would have said that because I'm right now pricing new international. Now, I have said this before. The Linkville crane we had that was on CCC, it weighed 68,000 on the tandem. Four-wheel drive only it was useless because it had so much weight on the counterweight of the crane when it was bid. But the front end just did these. Like I say, I may have said it. I know I've said that about on the.
Yeah, no, it's a much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Take care. You know more than I do. The last two board meetings I've sat in on virtually through Zoom, it is a, yeah. But to be honest, Jeremy, every year for the last 10 years, at least 3 people have come to me saying, "I hear this is the last year they're having Island games." And I just nod and I go, "Wow, that's crazy. I hope that's wrong for me because nobody's told me about it, you know." And the meetings I'm in on, which are the people running it, seem to think we're going to have. And it's funny to me because every year it kind of happens. No, well, unless they went totally bankrupt, which is not on the horizon anytime soon, by the way. Now, and also the funny thing is, I heard that, and I heard it's going to be the last singing on the mountain. Which, to be honest, this might do the singing in because it's a skeleton of what it used to be anyway. It wouldn't surprise me if Singing on the Mountain kind of folded. They've been living on Ken Hartley's checkbook for the last 2 years. You know, I mean, Ken has just bankrolled it out of his personal account, paid the bands, done whatever he's doing, and that's it. You know, I mean, so the singing is on life support, but it'll keep going as long as Ken Hartley wants to pay for it, you know. Or if he can find a corporate sponsor or something to pay for what the expenses they have. But they're in much worse shape than the Highland Games is. The Highland Games, you know, this sounds like, you know, whatever, not bragging necessarily, but bluster. It sounds like bluster. But every other games in the country should shut down before grandfather. You know, I mean, like we should be the last one left. You know, at least on the East Coast, it should be us and Pleasanton, California should be the only 2 left. You know,
Last term, maybe.
yeah, and I think 2021, all things, you know, being done by then, good Lord willing, maybe our biggest one ever because so many people missed a year.
Right.
And like, see, we sent out a letter to all our campers and stuff saying, you know, we're giving you 3 options. You can get a refund. You can roll your camping over to next year. You're already paid for 2021, or you can donate this year and still pay next year, which we really appreciate. You know, pay us twice. Because we still have expenses. And I think like 80% of the people who replied want to roll on to next year. Not, oh, guaranteed a spot for 2021 already? That's me, you know. And so and the funny thing is a whole group of our campers are going to go to Steel Creek Park down in Morganton the same weekend as the Highland Games would have been. And they're just going to party down in Steel Creek Park and they're going to make a little, you know, the campground has given them a whole section because so many of them called. And so they've got a whole little section just for Highland Games people that want to camp. So they're going to go on their vacation, by God, you know, but yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But legitimately, like I say, 3 people a year at least have told me, I heard this is going to be the last year for the Highland Games. And I'm like, no. But it doesn't bother me to hear it anymore because hell, like I say, I'm used to it. I mean, but every year, somebody, you know.
Such an odd time.
Sure. Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was just like.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Jerry, there's a meeting Saturday, or I'm in a Zoom meeting Saturday, and if I hear that this is going to be the last Highland game, I want to know who your source is. Because you will have piqued my interest at that point. If I get inside information Saturday, and it's like, how did Jeremy Hayes find this out before I did? So if I call you Saturday, you'll know some shit's going down. Yeah.
And I will reveal my source immediately.
I'm not going to ask until then, because otherwise it's anonymous. But if they end up being right, I want to know who the hell that is, because they've got some damn inside knowledge.
As it came up, it left.
Sure.
I mean,
it's, and that's how rumors go, you know, it's like people throw them out there to see
See what happens.
what happens.
I'm gonna do it, guys. We,
Be careful.
we finished paving Buckeye Creek Road. It's done.
They said if they asked them what
So you can slide up quicker to us and we can come down to you.
that's fantastic.
So,
I'm looking forward to that.
yeah, me too. Without a doubt.
Thank you for the excellent work.
That's done. And then,
Hopefully get your budget stuff worked out. After having been on the program this last week, I had to be here for this, but I wasn't here this week coming in here to talk to you guys. I was hoping you'd be able to do it more.
no, that is.
No, you have it, I can hope that, you'll be the adult that you are and not do.
I couldn't let go.
No, you are, like you said, you represent people.
I do. It's not my money to say it's okay.
If it were a personal issue, you could let it go. You know, if it was just, well, I hate these people and they hate me, well, hell, that's just the way it is, isn't it? But
Ball Creek came to the Rio, you know what I mean, 2 weeks later after they gave us our budget stuff, we were here the very next Thursday when they had their little special, and we were like, hey, what the heck? We went up, but we didn't do it up, like some people went up. I was very,
I don't want to throw stones because I don't know what to do.
that's all
But,
I
but
couldn't
the
get at.
people who were up there got the biggest increases.
And I felt bad because, do you realize, I haven't even seen our budget yet for this year, I haven't seen it. And which is weird because normally I get an email.
You want to say?
I haven't, I legit, you know, every year I get an email from the coordinator.
I see.
But every year I get an email from the coordinator because I looked it up for last year's just to see what ours was last year. I did it just now and it's on my email. This year I've got no emails from anybody. So
You
speaking
guys
of
got a good-
communication,
You guys got a good.
and I don't know why, so I'm curious now to see what we got because I haven't seen it yet.
And I told them, back, how you, I said, look, if everybody's being cut because there's no money, I'll pack up and leave.
Yeah, absolutely. And they couldn't tell you that because, well, here's my thing too. And you'll understand this and take it in the right vein, I hope. My personal theory has been for years, until we get $750,000 a year, which is what the Linville district pays into the fire tax, it's our money. Like you said, you know, it's Linville's money, you know, and up to $750,000, which is roughly what our district pays in, you know, so.
Well, I understand that, you know, the donator, like Beach Mountain.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because that's how, you know,
Now,
Frank and them are gonna.
You can't run a county that way, you know, and I know that.
I understand that.
That's why I want to run that to a field, but I don't want it to sound like we deserve it. That's my point. 18% is what I figured we were at 2 years ago. 18% of what was contributed in the Lincoln district, right? We got 18% back. But again, some districts would starve if they didn't share, and so that's not gonna work. But if you wanna ask me, are you happy with your budget? No, until we get what Linville paid in. I'm not particularly satisfied, but we can operate on much less. Obviously, we can operate on much less.
Yeah.
But if you wanna know if it's enough, well, no, because if we got what was in our district, we could have a much nicer station, and we could rotate trucks like crazy. We could pay for some personnel, and we could have a staff, you know, we can do those things, and it's okay that we don't. But don't ask me if it's enough yet, because the answer's gonna be no until, what did we contribute? And I say we, the district. What did our district contribute? Okay, then no, we're not to that number yet. But yes, we can get by on less, but,
Well, I wouldn't mind contributing 25%.
of course, which,
I wouldn't mind that, but not, you know.
and I'm gonna say on this truck discussion, you know, again, if you wanna pour mouth me on trucks, you know, we're again, the Linville district is putting in, you know, 15% more than what this truck costs every year.
I gotta tell you, I have my four-wheel drive.
I was gonna say,
I'll argue with that.
Please speak up. I mean,
No,
because
right.
you
We
know how
can't
long,
survive without it.
you know, I'm working with Matthew personally in truck committee meetings, and I'll tell you what he's gonna say if you bring it up and see. I'd almost bet money on it. He's gonna tell you that a two-wheel drive truck, a four-wheel drive truck can't get the spin up to clear the lugs out when you get it marked up in the snow, because, you know, all that torque in a four-wheel drive unit, you can't get the speed up to clear them lugs out. I'm like, what the fuck are you driving in the snow?
Yeah.
You don't clear the lugs
You're
out.
going off the edge. I tell you what, I'll beat you out, you do that, you're off the edge.
And I wish I had thought of it, because sitting here, you always think of the best thing to say 20 minutes later. When he says, I can't think of but a few calls where that's made a difference, what I wish I had said, if I could rewind, I'd say it, is how many wrecks has it prevented?
Yeah, how many times?
Tell me right now that four-wheel drive hasn't saved a life already.
Every call we have in the wintertime, we can't get.
Our water points get softened.
We can't.
Yeah. So again, so tell me that Don't prove it by how many fires a truck has gotten to with four-wheel drive. Tell me how many times a person didn't die because they were in a four-wheel drive truck, had better traction, and didn't slide off the edge of the bank, whereas in a two-wheel drive truck, they would.
We couldn't survive. Everything we own is forward, right? And 650 is not
And
out of the ordinary.
it is money more. They're talking $400,000.
We got a pumper tanker for $412,000. That's what you get for $400,000.
You get a bare knuckle, yeah,
Pumper tanker.
a second out, yeah, a second out truck that is supported on the same.
Needs to be level one. It needs to.
And again, do we have too many old trucks in this county? Yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of trucks, we tend to collect, you know, but,
First time ever.
But eventually you run out of space. So you gotta get rid of some.
of course, but my other point is, what can you sell a used fire truck?
You can't.
Can you not get more service out of it by keeping it? You know?
I get my old.
2 years of we spend more money.
Yeah.
And all trucks get to that.
Yeah.
But I don't know that any of our trucks are to that point yet, because they're all getting old, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And there again,
We're
you know,
younger than you guys.
Right. Right.
We took our old truck.
Yeah.
And we replaced and made it a service truck. We got points.
We're doing the same thing right now. That's that our Kodiak is, we took that from the county.
You cash in on the points.
but it also goes back to,
It's a good truck. I have some plans.
they don't know what they're doing.
You know, they had, not this group, the fire commission had the same discussion.
It's generation,
10 years
it's
ago.
generation, they still don't know what they're doing.
Electronic problem.
But now they're
Minus 15.
What are we doing with those harder? Why are two people gonna sit there? And just, you know, do you know what's expensive?
Oh, yeah.
You know that, you know what's expensive in an organization? People. You know, you can buy trucks with what we're spending on, without spending on people, and I'm not shitting on people, because I'm not, you know, I'm not saying they won't serve a purpose and be good, but they gotta be allocated better.
I'm not sure I allocate it.
No.
You get a 24-hour top on truck, responded to every structure fire.
And I don't mind saying,
Full group with a spot.
if they're gonna, if the personnel policy currently says the chief sets the schedule, I know the chief needs to set the schedule. Fire commission should. Not the schedule of the people that are given to a station.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
it is your turn, sir.
Oh, coming on in, big guy.
Could be easy, whatever.
I appreciate you listening to that.
We don't know together.
We should.
Yeah, just. And I tell you, you miss seeing people. Zoom is okay.
It's
To
in
disseminate information. It
Let's
is
do
good for interpersonal communication.
Try finishing up a seventh grade social studies class
Yeah.
on a computer with kids who can barely pay attention anyway.
Guys, have a good-
See you all.
I can imagine. Placing them on Zoom.
It was such a weird, oh my God, such a weird,
Man,
it's most forgiving you've ever.
yeah. Hey, I think most kids like having this time off.
Yeah.
Shit, Joe looks good.
Right, had to keep rolling.
Yeah.
But I don't know what kind of zombies we're gonna get in August, though. That's what scares me, because these kids had a 5-month summer for all intents and purposes.
Well, I know one teacher pretty much told her, said, don't do anything in class.
Mhm.
If you want to make A, do them.
And see, we tried to keep that a secret as long as we could, but the siblings who have high school, siblings in high school, they just quit doing anything. Because the state basically did say, if a kid wasn't failing on March 13th, you cannot fail. If they do nothing.
Alexis said that much.
Well, good for her. I mean, that she has the intrinsic motivation, but there were plenty of kids that didn't care.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't touching that.
Yeah,
Don't come. God, I ain't giving that.
such a bad year.
I just went to kids. Yeah, and there's gonna be advanced through finances.
Yeah. Well, I just realized I had nothing to invest in this conversation, so I'm leaving this.
Well. Well.
Jeremy, this is what we. Well, so here's what they thought. Well, no, we have the information. We have documentation. We got. Thank you, Jeremy.
Appreciate it, guys. I'm leaving, by the way.
All right.
I'm starving. Appreciate it.
No, what do you like the guy with the longest legs, you know?
Actually, I can get a cab chassis right now, and claim about 76,000 four-wheel drive and everything.
He was newly talking about,
But you ain't got money. Do you know what your used house name? You tried nothing, that's not go.
93, here's my tax.
They said you could. Do you live in
Yeah, he's got, yeah. Oh, no, but I was doing another truck. I was just playing.
Jeff, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we are now back in out of closed session and into open session. During closed session, no votes were taken. And we did discuss personnel. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to hire Dustin Cody Laws to the David County Fire Commission. So we got a motion.
Second.
Well, technically, we make the motion. That's the motion. Matt made the motion, and we got a set first, and Rob seconds. All in favor? And the I didn't write down the name.
Joel McKinney.
Joel McKinney.
McCann.
Also, the chair will entertain a motion to hire Joel Buchanan to the Avery County Fire Commission. So we need the motion.
I'll make a motion.
So moved. Got, well, the motion's made, then you have a first and a
Okay, I'm
second.
sorry.
So first, we got a first and a second.
I'll see. We didn't have a first, did
I think we can, yeah,
we? Over here.
I think I can second. Thank you. All right, so we have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's the aye or no, or all opposed, I'm sorry.
No.
3-2, the motion carries that we hire Joel Buchanan. All right, Jeff, is there anything else?
That's it.
We good? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I didn't think you do that. I got confused. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's glad to be back. It's some kind of regular schedule.
That is like the first time you can.
as close as they can get.
I want to see how much increase in.
Well, I can tell you right here.
Well, what you're talking about just Article 5 conditions. Because now we. But didn't we do that before? Right when I first came?
Okay, so.
Hey, chicken.
This year,
Right, yeah.
everything said, and
Yeah, I'm sorry.
See what's not.
For the record, 49 right there.